Hello. Um, I'm gonna try to be as brief as I possibly can. So let's talk about ADHD, attention deficit disorder, um, and about the drug that is prescribed now, um, Adderall XR. This drug is a very dangerous drug. Okay, it's speed, it's cocaine, it's amphetamines, methamphetamines, whatever you want to call it. And if you give that drug to your child, you're basically murdering your child. You should know this. By the way, read the side effects. If you're one of those parents that doesn't just takes the drug, drug, and gives it to their children and they don't know the side effects, well, you're stupid, okay? Um, because there's a lot of things, these side effects, they're not just, some of them are death. And if death is one of the side effects, you should know this. It definitely outweighs the benefits. Okay, so which in this case it is Adderall XR can murder your child, and there's millions of cases. Well, I'm sorry, exaggerated, but there's many cases. Just check it out, where parents are complaining now that their child has died because they didn't know how damaging this drug was. Now, um, this is sort of my emotional kind of a thing, but let me just tell you what you need to know about this drug. First of all, public schools get extra funding for every ADHD case. Okay? So they're motivated to have new cases of ADHD because they get more money. Okay? Now I didn't know this, and I'm very very surprised because this is the most satanic thing that you can do. Did you know that apparently pharmaceutical companies, the ones that come up with this Adderall XR, they hire prostitutes as sales representatives that go to doctors, and they're like, "Hey, doctor," these unattractive doctors that never see anybody and they don't have a chance. They get visits from these high-end prostitutes whose job it is to sleep with them and to have more uh, drugs sold to people who may not really need them, and definitely don't need them. Dr. Eisenberg, okay, look that up. Dr. Eisenberg is a father of ADHD, is a person who coined this term, okay, who came up with the condition ADHD. He said right before he died, he said, and I'm quoting, ADHD is a prime example of a fictitious disease, fictitious condition. Fictitious, if you're not as educated, means fake, okay? It's a fake disease, says the guy who created it. Now, why? That's a whole another area and topic, and we'll talk about it in a few. But so it's a fake condition that's given to children because that's diagnosed. Many children are diagnosed with it because doctors get visits from prostitutes. They get they get promotions. They get to stay where they are, and they get to continue their practice. I've actually, let me tell you something about myself. I'm not the smartest cat on the block, but one thing I know how to do really well is analyze things. So I come from a family of doctors. My mother is a doctor, my father is a doctor, my sister is a doctor, and I am a doctor. And so I know what I'm talking about. Read the side effects. Doctors are motivated. They're doctors. Everything they learn about medicine has been written for them by a pharmaceutical company. They're motivated by only one thing: profit. Okay? And this is a very, very profitable drug. many cases of death. Many children have died. Um, the father, the guy who created this condition, says it's a fake, completely fake disease. Doesn't exist. No such thing in the history. If you look at the encyclopedia, Wikipedia online, it's extremely vague. It almost feels like it's been written by someone who's interested in having a condition that would generate some kind of profit for the pharmaceutical industry, and also be some sort of a condition that they may apply to students who's who are hard to handle, to for those potentially for those that might potentially exhibit type of behavior that might be potentially a threat to them, to the whole system of things. There's a condition created that then would be applied to these kind of potentially threatening to this system cases, children. And so that's another thing you should know. You should also know that schools don't create children or human beings who are then ready to be independent human beings, have jobs and create jobs and be independent and free. Schools, the main purpose of a school is to condition a human being to recognize authority. That's the main purpose. It's to brainwash, so to speak, to condition someone so that you recognize the hierarchy, you recognize the judge, you recognize the police officer, you recognize the military, you recognize the teacher, the boss, the general manager, and so forth. That is the real purpose why schools are at a certain age when the brain is most vulnerable. Now, another thing you should know is Center for Disease Control in America, the one that controls all of the what goes into your food and your water. They have a requirement for water to be fluoridated. And let me tell you what the fluoride is. Fluoride is a poison which cannot be discarded or dumped into the environment because of its toxicity. So they came up with a solution. The government, the big brother, has decided to find some kind of positive benefit for that. And apparently they're saying that fluoride in water is good to prevent cavities in people's teeth. So they fluoridate water now. They're required by CDC, Center for Controlled Disease, is requiring all the cities and municipalities to fluoridate their water under the it's prevents. So they basically, what they're doing is they're medicating people directly through water instead of treating the water. It's the only country in the world that does this besides Canada. Europeans, no way. Nowhere else in the world, just the US and Canada. So official version is to prevent cavities from developing. But unofficially, apparently, this fluoridated water, what it does to human beings is it makes them less aggressive, meaning they take away the ability of a human being to do something about something that's outrageous. If something is really horrible happening in your life and you really think that it shouldn't be happening, you want to do something, it takes that ability to get up and do something about it, to organize, to go and do something about it. It takes that ability from you. So you're not a threat any longer. Schools get funding. So another thing that has been discovered is Two things. And CDC says they don't see that, but apparently, and there's been studies done, and it's all over the place. Apparently, apparently, uh, people who are exposed to fluoridated water, everyone, all of us, especially children, can have symptoms of ADHD. So the symptoms of ADHD come not from, you know, whatever, they come from fluoridated water. And the particles, the fluoride particles, are so small you can't smell or taste them. Water tastes like a normal water because these particles are so small. However, they're very damaging. Apparently, they cause these symptoms of ADHD. Not only that, but they're apparently have been the reason why the IQ has been decreasing in children. Okay, so schools are motivated to have every new case of ADHD because public schools get extra funding for every ADHD case. I don't know how much, but you do your own research on that one. But they're motivated. Doctors get visits from prostitutes, sales reps that have been hired by pharmaceutical company to sell more, prescribe more Adderall. Okay? Prostitutes. Are you kidding me? Prostitutes are being hired as sales representatives to sell more Adderall. Okay, so there you go. Doctors, this is what they do. Doctors who are also known as pill pushers. School, their whole purpose is not to educate you and make you into an independent person, free and independent person. Their job is to condition you. And if you have some kid who's actually smart enough to realize this and is not paying attention, hey, he's a destructive force. We need to put him on Adderall, okay? ADHD, that's totally an ADHD. Put him on Adderall. Get rid of him. Kids neutralized, everything goes back to normal. All right. Another thing is if you're the kind of parent that tells your child, child is in an abusive situation at home, and you're a parent and you tell, don't talk about this outside, so lie about this, and then you call your child a liar. First you tell your child to lie, then you tell your child not that he's a liar, and then you also say that you punish your child for telling the truth. If you punish your child for telling the truth, he's not going to tell you the truth. But then if you tell him not to tell the truth, you're giving a bad example. You're basically turning your child into a liar. And if there's fights and if there's all these, turbulence going on at home, of course they're not going to pay attention to math. And one thing, apparently, these pharmaceutical companies teach, the way they convince parents that their child has ADHD and that they can't come to you and tell you your child is not listening to American history, because nobody gives a shit about American history, okay? It's not going to be a deal breaker, you think, for your child when he graduates, if he doesn't remember something about American history or whatever. But they always come up with math as a sole purpose, as the reason why you might have to put your child on ADHD drugs like Adderall, because their math is suffering. That's what they tell you. But however, what they don't tell you is that the water is being poisoned by fluoride, the air is being polluted, and these are causing the symptoms of ADHD. It has nothing to do, with a person. Some people are just sensitive to their environment. Their skin might not be the type of skin that's, not sensitive to this kind of a poison in their water. They may be sensitive to the fluoride, in the water, and they might be expressing these things. They might be sensitive to what's going on in their home and their family, if it's not a normal environment, especially if you tell them not to talk about it outside. I mean, how bad must it be for. And so that is that. So doctors are motivated, prostitutes are hired by pharmaceutical companies, schools are motivated, um, water has been poisoned. And check this out, fluoride. The requirement was zero point 0.7 to 2 points parts per million in, I don't know how much water, a gallon, I think. Um, and then they reduced it to max zero point 0.7, clearly because more was, it was doing an actual damage. It lowers the IQ in children, causes symptoms of ADHD. What else do you want? Side effects include nausea, vomiting, that's standard. But what it actually does, high blood pressure. If your child is like, if they turn really red, hey, if they have irregular heartbeat, arrhythmia, if they're pale, if they have dry lips, if they have insomnia, if they're irritable, if the symptoms that you're trying to treat are actually increasing instead of decreasing, take them off the fucking drug. Unless you want to kill your child, then yeah, sure, put them on Adderall and they'll die really soon. Also, another thing that there was a drug right before Adderall, Ritalin, which is basically Adderall, but they put a new name for it. 80% of injuries in children, 80% of injuries have been linked to the use of Ritalin and Adderall. So if your child is athletic and they're having some sports, or they're not athletic, they're just on Adderall, there is 80% chance of them getting physically injured because they are on this drug. So, wake up, okay? Wake up. Get your children off Adderall, because it's a closed circle. They're trying to destroy the child's life. Okay, so wake up, get your child off Adderall. And ADHD is a fake condition designed for one thing only: to eliminate the smart ones, the ones that actually have the capacity to make changes, to do something. They don't need people like that. They need obedient slaves. The ones that will sit and say yes and pretend that they understand, but you're putting your child under a lot of risk. And the very good example, if you want to test if your child has attention deficit or not, give them an Xbox controller or a PS4 controller. You'll see how much attention deficit they have. They'll show you so much attention that you'll be jealous how much attention they can show. So this whole attention deficit is a bullshit. There's an attention deficit to bullshit, but having an attention deficit is a bullshit. Pardon my French, but actually don't excuse me, because it's the truth. And so comments and contacts are welcome.